In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Snowtrooper for the Saga line. This is the one with the E-Web cannon. So I know I've talked about this particular action figure on the channel a little bit before. I used to own this one in my collection. I got this back in 2003, 2004. It was the very first Snowtrooper I ever got. And I got it at my local Walmart. And interestingly enough, it was the only action figure they had on the shelf. I knew when I saw this, I was like, oh, I have to have this action figure for my collection. And for many years, it was a great action figure to have in my collection. I definitely got a lot of use out of it, and I definitely took advantage of having the E-Web cannon. But unfortunately, throughout the years, I either lost accessories and lost parts to it, and then after a while, I just sold him in a lot of a few other action figures. I think this may have been around 2015 or 16. I figure I didn't really want to have the Snowtrooper just by itself with missing a lot of the accessories, so then I ended up selling him. But then fast forward a few years, I was like, you know, I really did like that Snowtrooper and I would like to have him in my collection again. And then after getting the deluxe pack from the vintage collection that had the Stormtrooper and the E-Web cannon, I thought the E-Web was a little too small, at least compared to this one it was, because you almost have to have the Stormtrooper in a crouching position or on his knees in order to have him actually hold it with both hands. While this one here, as you can see, the Snowtrooper will just stand upright, and then you should be able to hold it no problem. So at some point I do plan to do a comparison video of the two E-Webs. I'm sure there's likes and dislikes of both. I know the TVC one probably looks a little more accurate, while this one looks a little more toyetic. But still, we'll save that for a future video. And I wanted to do an unboxing for this on screen here, because if you'll notice, the backpack on this is upside down. Well, for the longest time I thought this was right side up. So for many years I had the Snowtrooper with his backpack on like this. I know it doesn't really matter which way you have it, but for accuracy purposes, it's supposed to be like this. Basically the heavy side down. But I kept it in this position because I thought, well, you know, when you look at the Snowtrooper forward, you can kind of see the backpack behind him a little bit, and I thought that looked a little bit better. While if you have it this way, you don't see it at all. But just something small, not really a big deal. But it's kind of reminiscent of an action figure that I used to have and things you used to do with it. But anyways, I have the famous Star Wars logo for Saga there. It does say Empire Strikes Back on the side. Then the action figure itself, Snowtrooper, the Battle of Hoth, firing cannon. The description of the accessories it comes with there. Then Snowtrooper, the description about him, talking about the E-Web cannon specifically, about how they were hoping to use it to destroy the Millennium Falcon. Showing off what the action figure can do. And some of the other action figures from the line. This Han Solo I'll be reviewing soon. Same with Wat Tambor. I used to own this Darth Vader. In fact, that was the very first Darth Vader I ever owned, I think. Wouldn't mind actually owning that Leia. And this Maul looks pretty neat. Kind of reminds me of the Sith Lord version from the Phantom Menace line, but it does look like it's updated a little bit. This Secret Ceremony Padme is a highly sought after action figure as well. That'd be neat to have. Coleman Trebor, I would like to have the one that's more articulated. But you know, looking at that action figure, that one's pretty good for what it is. Instead of paying an outrageous price for the more articulated one, maybe someday I'll just go ahead and get that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this open. Then we have the instruction manual here describing how to actually put this E-Web together. It's pretty simple. I think it's actually much easier to put together than the TBC version. As you can see, his backpack has yellowed a little bit. But at some point I would like to try that hydrogen peroxide treatment. We'll see how that goes. Fortunately, the Snowtrooper is probably yellowed a little bit. You can tell he's off-white some, but it's not bad. Interesting how they put this piece of plastic around his wrist there. I'll go ahead and put that blaster in his holster. So from my understanding, this action figure is totally new tooling from the ground up. Nothing's been reused from the Power of the Force days or any of the other lines. Does seem to have a little difficulty standing on its own. We have our missile there for the E-Web. So the way you put it together, you have this tripod here basically. And let's see here. I think you just slide it into place. Yeah. And what I really like about this E-Web a lot more than the TBC one is it's much harder plastic. That one felt a lot more flimsy. But look at that. Now that's an E-Web. Then you do have the missile right here. Seems to stay into place. And then the way you release that is you just push down on this. And the cannon's actually on a ratchet, so it'll stay into place pretty good. Does seem like the spring on the missile's a little loose. So for the figure itself, as you can tell, he's definitely made to be able to hold this E-Web cannon. And we'll show him holding it here in a minute. So if you saw my previous video about the Saga collection, Snowtrooper, basically everything from the waist up is a reuse of that. But he is cleaned up a little bit more. I'm bringing him out right here. A lot less weathering, other than him being yellowed. But we can fix that. Yeah, it looks like the arms are a little bit different because these two hands have trigger fingers while this one's just a C-shaped for both. And then of course the legs are all new. In terms of his articulation, he does have the hinge at the head, but that just goes up and down. This is pretty stiff, so I'll have to work with that a little bit. And then swivel shoulders, swivel waist, then swivel hips. And interesting is he has a hinged foot for his right leg. So it's interesting that they would give a random point of articulation. And I'm sure that's to help with his stance with the E-Web. Then for his accessories, of course, the backpack, then the standard E11. And I wanted to show it off how it looks in the holster there. Pretty nice for them to include that, so you can actually hold all of its accessories. So we'll see how he looks holding on to this. Very nice. Pretty natural pose. Of course, it has the scope on the E-Web there where you can kind of aim it a little bit. And as you saw, you can rotate it up and down on a ratchet, rotate it side to side. And then what I really like is that all three of these tripod legs are leveled. So I think on the TVC one, they may have all been slightly off, and then the way you put it together is very odd because it has that triangle thing you put in the middle. I did want to see on one more thing. I think this guy can kind of hold it as well. Yeah. Of course, he has the blaster in his hand, but if you want to have this guy hold the E-Web, it's definitely possible. Glad to finally add this back into the collection. And we'll put him back here. We'll bring out one more figure. Look at that. At some point I'll have to break out the rest of my Snowtroopers and make a little display with this. I do have quite a few, and I do have the Snowtrooper Commander from the Black Series 3 3/4 inch line reviewed on the channel. I do have several of the Legacy Collection slash Saga Legends Snowtroopers. I'm glad to add both of these guys to the ranks. I used to own the Black Series 6-inch Snowtrooper, but then I ended up selling him as well. I wouldn't mind tracking that one down again at some point, so we'll see. But anyways, would I recommend the Snowtrooper for your collection? I totally would. If you want an E-Web, this is a great option for you. I know that the TVC one still seems to be pretty cheap online. I think they did a large quantity of those, and then of course people probably just aren't buying them as much. I don't know if people were too happy with the E-Web. I think people were generally satisfied with it, but it definitely wasn't the best of the best that could be made. But I think this is a great E-Web cannon. As you can see, it looks a little more stable and looks more like a real E-Web. The other one kind of looks like a gun you would use for a fixed machine gun post or something of that nature. Well, this one looks like it's an actual cannon. So that's pretty neat. And it's pretty easy to get a hold of. I only paid a couple dollars for this guy online. Loose or brand new, it doesn't really matter. You're probably going to find it for like $15 or less. Maybe even less than $10 in some areas if you look in the right places. So highly recommended Snowtrooper and E-Web cannon. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.